G'day everyone, welcome back. So in this week's video, I'm going to show you how I turn the internal section of these little bowls, the 600 bowl project, the tools I use, why I like using these certain tools, and a little bit on the sanding process as well. In this video, we'll cover questions people have asked me privately over on Instagram. So if you would like to ask me a question, you don't feel like writing it in the comments, that's totally cool. My handle for Instagram is just here. You can find me over there, or you can ask me a question over on Instagram on my website there as well. So if you don't like writing comments in videos and things, that's totally cool. I get it. Hopefully I can help you out wherever I can to enjoy our beloved craft even more. If I don't know the answer, because I'm not an expert, if I don't know the answer, I will try my best to always find that out for you. So I hope you enjoy the video. Alrighty, so first things first is before I start any project, I need to keep an eye on the timber quality. So I don't want any defects or any splits or any cracks in the timber itself, because that just slows me down, and then I'm having to use resins and epoxies and things like that that I don't want to use and I haven't used in any of these pieces. So that's my main goal. First thing, when I turn anything, has it got splits, cracks or anything? So if it does, it gets put aside and I don't use it. So for this piece here, it's 100 mils in diameter, 100 millimeters in diameter, and it's 50 millimeters in depth. And that's the project piece. And I don't turn anything smaller than that, but I will turn things that are a bit larger than that. You might be looking at this here, and that's a mortise that was cut on the drill press with a Forstner bit. And that's how I attach them onto the front of the lathe, onto the VM190 chuck. I've already turned the back side of these and formed the tenon. So now it's coming to turning the inside. So place it in the chuck, my thumb pushes it in. I'm just going to narrate as I'm going here of how I go about making these little bowls, and you might pick up on something that can help you out in your process. The main things I want to cover are the tool selection and some sanding, because they've been the main questions that people have been asking me. So when it comes to the tools, the first tool that I'm going to use is this tool here. It's by Woodcut Tools, little 1/2-inch bowl gouge with a 45-degree bevel on there. This is my sort of main workhorse. It's this tool, as well as a 16mm bowl gouge as well that I use. And they're like the workhorses. They remove bulk of the material and get me into a position where I can do my finishing cuts. So that's why I have several tools that sort of remove a lot of material, and then I pick up the M42 steel tools, these two here, to do the finishing cuts. And I'll talk about this one in just a sec. So the next tool that I pick up after I've used those sort of bulk removing tools when I'm doing my finishing turning is this tool here. It's called the GL5. Sorry, just a sec. Just don't want that tool rolling off. It's called the GL5, and it's a 1/2-inch bar with a 45-degree bevel on there. And the beauty about this tool, it's made out of M42 steel, so it remains really sharp, and I just do my finishing cuts with it. So it remains sharp, and I can get about 10 bowls out of these 3 sets of tools, and then I need to stop and resharpen. Sometimes I might need to stop and resharpen in between, because a piece might have a little bit more silica or something. I've hit something in the timber that I need to pull up. But on average, it's been about 10 bowls. So after I've made my way down the side wing of the bowl, and I've approached about 1/3 down of the bowl. So for example, I've gone from here all the way down, and I've made my way to about there. I then stop with the finishing cut of the GL5, and then I pick up this GL6, a 5/8-inch bar with a 60-degree bevel on there with the heel removed as well. And that allows me to go and do the finishing cut across the bottom, so about from that 1/3 position there of the bottom of the bowl across to the base to the finish line. And I tend to use only bowl gouges, but if you didn't have these tools and you had a scraper, you could do the same thing with the scraper and make your way across that 1/3 of the bottom if you couldn't get all the way down with your bowl gouge. I just like using bowl gouges, and that's what I started with, and that's what I use, but I do have scrapers as well. So first thing is to bring over the banjo and make sure I've got nice clearance between the piece and the tool rest. So I'm not going to come in contact, and I'm all locked off ready to rock and roll. I turn the lathe speed down on my lathe here, the VL240. Most Vicmarks, later model Vicmarks now, they all have a speed control box. And it's got the off switch, the on switch, the reverse, and then it's got the variable speed there. And that lives down here by my thigh, so I can just at any moment, if I've got a tool in my hand, I can just hit it with my thigh and turn the lathe off. So that helps a lot. So what we'll do is turn on and we'll get this show on the road. We'll bring the speed of the lathe up and we'll get going. I just run an overgrasp grip for my first cut. I'm just going to pull the timber off the face of this piece and bringing it down. So there's several ways that I could do this. I could do this I could do this cut here and then switch hands if I wanted to, if it was too undulated, and do a push the bevel in like so, the wing of the tool, the lower wing, that's what I'm working with at the moment, and that cuts it down, and then I could come back and do this cut here as well. So it just depends on what you're comfortable with, I guess. And anything that you don't feel comfortable with, obviously don't attempt to do any of it. So now I'm going to place the tool in a position where I can start cutting down the internal of the bowl. And I do that by placing my thumb behind the flute here. The flute's facing away from me, and it's closed, so it's proper facing away. And I place it in and I get rid of this step first of all that I made with the Forstner bit. So I cut that down. You might have noticed that I rolled the flute open. So then I come over, hands now over grasp grip, and I have that tool by my side, by my tummy, hands over grasp, and then I start by just working that internal section down a little bit until I've got it all in one piece. There's no steps. And now I'm happy. Now I can keep going back, hands back underneath, start the cut, roll the flute, hand over the top, and then work it down. I'm going to bring up the speed of the lathe there. I think we're lacking a little bit, and you could probably see that too. And now we're running at about 2000 RPMs. Just going to make one more cut here. Just removing that bulk. I'm going to put the tool down. I'm going to put that woodcut tool down, pick up the GL5, and I'm going to clean up this rim. Drop the speed a bit because we've removed the spine of the bowl now, the internal. So it's got no strength, so it's going to start warping a little bit with the speed. So I just drop the speed. Fingers are over the front of the flute, pinky behind. I've got that tool in beside my waist for support, and I'm going to drive the face of this bowl off there. One more, because I like a tapered brim. Come in, open the flute just slightly, and then bring it down. You can still see that that rim is way too wide for this piece. Just visually looking at that, it's way too big. So we'll go back to the little woodcut tool, take about 1/3 and drive it down. One more. Put that tool down, back to the GL5, drop the speed, and you might see me feeling the outside of the bowl because I'm just, in my mind, I know what I can, I know how much control I need to place on the back of the bowl and the support that it needs when I make this cut. So I'm going to place my hand in like a claw, and this is how I run down the side of the bowl when I need to make a nice little cut down the bottom. So hand is like a claw, thumbs behind the flute, flute is closed, facing away. My hand is over the top of the gouge because I need to roll it when I come into the timber. So I go into the timber, open the flute, and then ride that gouge down. And stop there. Let's have a look to see how well that cut went, to make sure we don't need to do another one. We've got no torn grain, and we've got a really nice clean surface of there. So we could start sanding at 180 grit and we would be fine to finish that bowl. So now this is where, if you didn't have a bottom bowl gouge, you could pick up your scraper or just keep going with your last bowl gouge you were using. But I find when I've made a lot of these bowls now, is when I keep going just down with the bowl gouge with the 45 degree or a 55 degree, what happens is I leave a bit of material in this lower 1/3 section. So I stop about there with the last gouge, and then I pick up the bottom bowl gouge to get that nice even wall thickness and a really nice sweep down in with the gouge. But like I said, a scraper would do the same thing if you wanted to. But I have found in the past when I have used a scraper up here to maybe take out a ripple or two every now and then, you can get a bit of torn grain. So I prefer to use gouges. It just speeds my process up, and I don't have, even though I love tools, and you could probably tell I've got a lot, I don't have heaps of tools on my trolley here. I've only got the things that I need. So now I'm going to use the bottom bowl gouge, and this is where I've learnt this from Glenn Lucas, and how to start the cut. And this was someone's questions that a mate of mine asked me on Instagram, is what I'm doing there. I start by riding the heel of the tool, and then I bring the gouge up, the handle up slowly until I start seeing a shaving, and then I begin the cut. And that way it lessens my chance of having a bad catch or taking too much material off. You can see how much material you're going to take off, and then you begin your cut. One massive thing that it took me a while to catch on to is removing that heel and having a really small bevel on there. It's probably about a 3 mil or a 4 mil bevel. That reduces a lot of vibration and a lot of chances of having bad catches or ripping too much material off. So reducing the size of the bevel reduces the friction and the amount of timber you're going to be ripping off the timber as well. Amount of timber you're going to be ripping off with the gouge is what I meant to say. I'm getting all tongue-tied here. Right, so first thing is I'm just going to take this center off. You could do the same thing here. So I'll demonstrate it from the middle. So I'm not cutting there. You can see I'm not cutting at all. But I come back and I slowly raise my right hand until I start seeing a nice little shaving, and then I can take it off. So this might be a nice way of practicing. So then I'm going to come back, just going to take this down in a little stage. Now I'm going to come back to that 1/3 position, drop the lathe speed down a touch, come back to that sort of 1/3 from the bottom up, and slowly take that material out. Stop before I rip that pip out at the base there, that little pimple there, and then just take little swipes at it. And now raise the lathe speed up. I'm just going to check the thickness, and that's feeling really nice. I'm going to take one more cut just to show you. Raise the tool handle, see the shaving, follow it down, stop, I stop, you can keep going. I just want to show you, and then you just lightly just take that bottom section off there, down towards the bottom there. And that reduces, still got a little pimple there, hold on. Too much talking, Kez. And that reduces my time sanding dramatically when I just take my time on those last little cuts, and it just speeds my time up when I'm working through these bowls. So now the next thing that I want to talk about is sanding. Let's fix this light. Sanding. When it comes to sanding, I've got this 2-inch mandrel head for doing the inside. I've got a 3-inch little mandrel flexible head for doing the outside. The 2-inch, I would start this bowl at 100. Where did I put all that sandpaper for? Hold on. So I would start sanding this bowl at 180 grit. I make sure it's nice and centered on the sanding mandrel, on the face of it. And then I start the lathe in reverse, run the drill in the opposite direction, and I start working my way down, quickly come back up. My friend asked me, why am I getting sanding lines? And I said, you might be holding the sandpaper for too long in one position, and not continuously moving the sandpaper across the bowl. As the lathe's running, you want to continuously move that sandpaper back and forth. If you don't have a drill or you're just free, like you're sanding with your hand, just continuously move the sandpaper. Don't just hold it in one spot for too long, because you'll get sanding lines. So the rule of thumb is you start with whatever grit you need to remove your tool marks and any blemishes or imperfections. But as you progress through the grits, you need to move through the grits no more than 50% of your previous grit. So the lower the number, the more aggressive the sandpaper is. The higher the number, the more finer the sandpaper is. So I've got 3 grits that I mainly use, and I'll tell you why I use, and I stop at 240. So if I was having a bad day and I wasn't having the cleanest cuts, or I needed to resharpen my gouges, and I came to a bowl and I'm like, mate, you really, you went half-assed there. So I need to start maybe 120 or 80 grit, maybe, for example. So I'd start at 180 or 120, then move to 180, and then go to 240. And then I stop at 240. Because I'm applying an oil finish to this piece, I want the oil to penetrate nice and deeply into the timber. The higher the grit you go, the sort of more you seal the pores over of the timber, so it doesn't allow for a nice deep penetration of oil into the timber. So that's why I stop at 240 grit. And one thing that I always try, like I said, is always try and aim for a really nice clean cut off the tools. When it comes to the rim at the end, sometimes, because I'm making this tapered, and I run the lathe, at probably around 900 RPMs, running it, I just lightly just kiss that on the rim there, like so. If I did that with 180 and I noticed, oh, hold on, I've gone a bit too heavy-handed, I'll stop and I'll keep the lathe running, and I'll just do it by hand. Just lightly moving that sandpaper over the front. And one last thing I do before I take it off the lathe, sometimes the rims that edge can be really, really sharp. You might see some of my knuckles here. I've been fighting with the timber. But you'll see little nicks and cuts over my hands. That's because of the rim just slightly touching my skin, and it just cuts it straight away. So sometimes I just run the speed of the lathe down so it hasn't got any like big warp in it, and just lightly touch that 240 grit on the outside of the rim. And that's how I go about turning the inside of these little bowls. Get that one, put it over the back, and then go around to my right, and then launch the next one in, and then I'm ready to go. Alrighty, I hope that video was nice and short and sweet. If you did enjoy these videos and you like when I keep them short, please let me know in the comments, or write me a message on Instagram or my website if you'd like to see something else, or if you want me to film the outside section of this bowl in my same process as I just did, please let me know in the comments. I'd really appreciate your input, and help drive this direction as well of the channel, because I am here for you as well, not only just sharing my love for our craft. So hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you and talk to you directly. Cheers. Bye.